1 second. We got to start this off the right way.
Incredible. Is this your dog?
Oh, that's right.
Child.
So listen, Dylan and Jessica, if we're going to talk about love and monsters, I had to bring my best supporting character to the interview. And we start by talking about one of the best characters in the whole movie, which is, of course,
Hell
Boy.
yeah. Hell yeah.
That was Nova. That's my little girl, Nova. But so you guys worked with a dog named Boy. What is that like on set? How do you what changes on set when you're working with a little pup?
So happy we're talking about this. Well, first of all, it's like yeah. I mean, like you have like this dog around, you know, two of them actually. There was two, Hero and Dodge, and they're just like, yeah, it's just like it's actually incredible how often I emotionally leaned on these dogs. You know, like I would just go and roll on the ground to them whenever I was like tired or something, and they would just lick my face. And there's also something like super incredible about how like they're not like allowed to. This is terrible because I loved this so much, but they're not like allowed to like interact with anyone but me.
Wait, really?
Yeah, most of the time, unless it's a day where they have to focus on interacting with another actor, then I have to like take the day staying away from them, which was awful. There were days where like Ariana, like for a few hours, could be the only one cuddling with the dogs, and I was like, I'm gonna kill her.
Oh God. Oh
Yeah.
man, that's funny. That's cool. That sounds like a really fun experience. And also, I mean, I'm a big Walking Dead fan. So speaking of crazy animals on set, you also worked with Michael Rooker. So I know he's a really fun guy who just doesn't have an off switch on the energy. Did he give you any apocalypse advice after working on Walking Dead?
I don't even think he remembered that he was in The Walking Dead. I was like, dude, I loved you in Walking Dead. He's like, say what?
Was I on that show?
Character in The Walking Dead. He's like, I got no idea what you're talking about, man.
That sounds very accurate.
Yeah. He that's such a great way to describe him. He really like his energy is nonstop. He's hilarious. Rooker's unreal.
Yeah, he's one of a kind. Oh, okay, so now this one's for both of you guys. There's a scene, a really cool action sequence, where you both have to fight a giant crab and that's not even a metaphor. You're literally fighting a giant crab. And I'm curious, like when you're on set that day on the beach and there's this like, is any of that real? Like, is that, because it looked very convincingly in existence. So I wanted to know, was any part of that thing really there, or are you guys kind of looking at things that are just completely non-existent?
There was a tennis ball on a stick. And then there was this blow-up crab that we had sometimes.
Yeah, they would drag out this gigantic blow-up crab that they ordered two of from China, and like it was like to take a reference sometimes. Like it would obviously never be there when we were shooting, but it was hilarious that it even existed. But that whole set was real. Like they like made that whole beach set, so the environment was totally practical. There would just be times. I remember there's a whole thing that like I remember like being on the beach and literally like mapping out like my fight with this crab or like where it would hit and how I would this whole like backing up sequence, just all like making it up on the spot, like just being like, okay, like first it sweeps my legs and then I can roll over as it comes down like this, and then I'll scurry up and then it'll knock over that house thing, and like all just doing it to nothing. So much fun.
That's what I thought. Maybe it was kind of like Game of Thrones with the dragons, where they kind of had like a piece of it, but that whole thing was computerized. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Wait, so just, I want to know, just because I know you can't say too much about other films, but how did the kind of experiences compare with the monsters here versus, I mean, like monsters as tall as the Empire State Building on Kong vs. Godzilla?
No, so I actually didn't interact that much with the monsters on Godzilla vs. Kong.
That's fair.
But my experience on that was similar in that it was a mixture of practical and CG.
Yeah, very cool. Well, listen, we don't want to get you in trouble, so I respect it. And so, watching the beginning of this movie, I feel like we all kind of can understand Joel's mentality of wanting to stay inside, but also missing the outside world, because Joel had an outside world and Amy had an outside world before the monsters came to existence in this universe. So I'm curious for you guys, what kind of this year, in feeling that way, have you learned to really appreciate that you never really thought was a little thing that you'd miss so much? What have you kind of realized? Maybe we took that for granted a little bit.
Everything. But like, it's really like also just sharpened things in a focus that has weirdly like simplified perspective, you know, like in such a weird contrast to like this chaos, you know, which is interesting, but like sort of, well, incredibly humbling and like sort of comforting in a way, like things that mean something to me that are the things that are paramount right now are like just like the health and well-being of like your loved ones, you know what I mean? Like things that you like go so often like forgotten about or just like pushed to the back, when really ultimately that is like, those are the most important things, you know what I mean? All of your little fucking problems like kind of go away, you know, which is like, I don't know, it's a really good like reality check, you know. The amount of checking in that like I think I just, you know, routinely do now on everyone I love, and I'm so lucky to have so many like people I love in the world, you know, so many like dear friends of mine that I've come across and are still with me, and just like nurturing those relationships is just like, you know, it really just shifts things into perspective, you know. And and yeah, it makes you miss people too. It makes you miss socializing, and like it's really interesting how how much we've lost it a little bit socializing wise. Like I feel like I'm being weird right now. You know what I mean?
I don't know what to do with my hands anymore. I don't.
What are these things?
So
Take it and run, Jess.
Listen, I can't speak for anybody else. I've passed a little bit of the time in quarantine here, doing a little bit of extra drinking than I think I usually would. And both of your characters in the movie, both have to kind of put on a drunk face at one point in the film, and it's kind of like there's a little bit extra going on. I don't want to spoil anything, but I know in movies that's a little tricky thing to do on a set. What is the key to a good drunk face on camera?
Yeah.
For me, I mean, I've seen recordings of myself drunk, so it's actually pretty easy to just mimic that. Like my eyes get really sleepy. I just look like I'm permanently on the verge of falling asleep. So that was my big thing. There was actually more drunk stuff that I'm sad was taken out.
Tired and so happy you are as a drunk.
Yeah.
All right,
and direct.
You shut up.
Caleb, look at the camera.
Yeah, Dylan told me all these drinking games when we were in Australia.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, now I'm coming to the next set.
Really.
I'll bring the next set. So I found it really interesting. I don't know if you guys have seen anything like this, but we're always watching superheroes here at comicbook.com. And Brie Larson did a YouTube video where she kind of opened up about a lot of roles that she auditioned for, and she didn't get the part. And then she watched the movie and was like, oh, they did such a good job in that. And
oh, wow.
There's a way of kind of going on, and you find your way anyway. And I'm curious if you guys would be willing to talk about any of that. Has there ever been a role that you auditioned for and thought would be really cool, and then you ended up watching someone else do that part, and you thought like, wow, they did a really great job, it's hard to imagine anyone else in that?
Oh, yeah. I mean, like to the point where I can't even like think of one right now, because I feel like it's so common that happens. But then it's also just like, I don't know, like when it's that person's movie, it's that person's movie, you know? So it's like, it then sort of never would have been yours, or would have, like, I don't know, I can't ever process it. Like, I'm never like looking for those movies that I like auditioned for, and I'm like, oh, I gotta see what, you know. It's just like, once it doesn't happen, then that's not your movie. Like, you just move on. So I don't know. I'm trying to think of one right now, though. Just take it for.
No,
you love when I keep telling you to take it.
I'm the same. I think that's the healthiest way. If you're an actor, you kind of have to let it go as soon as you don't get it. Otherwise, you'll just go crazy. I do watch things sometimes, but it's not in like a bad way. It's more in just like, I want to celebrate them and see what they did with it. Like, I'm actually really good friends with some people who have booked roles that I didn't get.
Wow, that's pretty cool. It's a small world out there in Hollywood, you know.
Yeah, and I'd be like so upset too. So, like the movies are so, the experience is so personal to you, you know, like that, like, I don't know, it's weird if I've ever had like an actor come up to me like after like a whole experience that was like my experience and meaningful to me and be like, oh dude, like I was so pissed when you got that part. Like I'm just always like, what?
I've had that. I've had actors come up and say that.
I've had it too, and I'm just like, oh, you're weird. You're one of those weird, I don't like that.
Yeah, what do you even say at that point?
Like oddly competitive, like that audition, you probably auditioned for that 2 years ago. Like,
yeah. And it is like, what do you say? I've just been like, oh, I'm sorry.
And you're just like, I'm like, that's my family. I'm like, you're basically now saying like, oh man, I should have been in that family instead of you. I'm like, but that's my experience now.
That's great. Yeah, well, that would be, I don't know what I would do. But all right, so I have two last things for you. One, first for Dylan. I mean, obviously, look, you look around here, Marvel, DC fan, no surprise.
Sure.
And I don't know if you're aware of this. If you read what's on the internet, the fans of both Marvel and DC have cast you in so many roles themselves, from Nova with Marvel to like Terry McGinnis or Nightwing with DC.
Wait,
would you ever?
Is your dog's name after that character?
Yes, that is my favorite character. And listen,
Copy you.
that's one of those roles I'm going to come up to you for and say that should have been me.
Yeah. Like, I don't care. I don't care if it was a wonderful experience for you that it's like super deeply personal to you in your life now. I'm like,
but so my first of these last two questions for you, Dylan, is would you ever want to join, like, because Jessica is no stranger to Marvel, so have you ever like flirted with that idea or had a character in mind that you thought would be fun or you saw people online talking about for you thought was cool?
I've gone on a date with the idea, like one of those like not bad first dates, but just like, you know, where it was fine and we haven't called each other.
Well,
no, meaning like I don't know. I you know, I like, if I'm being honest, like it's not. I that's not something deeply like one of my geek things that I geek out about. You know what I mean? Like I geek out about baseball. You know, I geek out about a lot of things, but like But yeah, I mean, I don't know. It would just be like anything else, really. If something I thought, I mean, I definitely was obsessed with Spider-Man. Like I loved Spider-Man growing up, you know. My dad worked on that first Spider-Man movie, like the Tobey Maguire one, and I like remember going to see it at my friend's 10th birthday party. And it was super cool because my dad had worked on it, and we were like, ah. And it's like that's deeply personal to me. But like, yeah, I mean, I don't know. Anything else, it would have to be like if I thought it was cool or if I liked it. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and my last thing, and this is for Jessica, I think the movies that made me fall in love with movies for the first time were the Matrix movies. And if it's on the internet, it has to be true. So I've heard your work in there. And what made me love those movies was how innovative they were and awesome that was. So that's really, I don't want to know anything about the story. I know that's like, they'll find you. But like, is that experience, like, is it as epic and kind of feeling as advanced and like futuristic as we, the fans, think it's going to be? For you?
There are definitely moments on set where Yahya and I look at each other and we just go, Matrix 4. Those pinch me moments. And Lana's doing some really interesting things on a technical level in the same way that, you know, she created a style back then. I think she's going to change the industry again with this film. There's some camera rigs that I've never seen before that we're using. That's probably all I can say for that.
Listen, I'm all in. I can't wait. I can't wait for everybody to see Love and Monsters on October 16th. Dylan O'Brien, Jessica Henwick, thank you so much.
Thanks, Brandon.
Guys, have fun with the rest of your day.
Yeah,
thank
dude, you too. Cheers.